Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It is 9:07. Good morning. I'm Pamela Furr. It is a Tuesday morning as we continue to react, respond, grieve, get angry about what happened yesterday at a private school here in Nashville, full of young children who were innocent, who probably greet the day always with a smile, right? Because no little children throw fits having to go to school. But regardless, I mean, I'm having a hard time, as I'm sure you are, finding the words. Mac Morey's here. Jay Harper is here. And I got to tell you, yesterday was interesting. I'm glad that I was here with all two of you, the three of us together, reporting what was going on. I am going to keep you posted today on any new information. In fact, it just came down the line that the Metro Nashville Police Department have released body cam footage now of what happened yesterday morning. We're about an hour away from it being exactly 24 hours ago. So if you want to go watch that video, it is available to you. Just look on Metro Nashville Police Department social media post and you can find it, probably on their website as well. We'll probably share that at some point as well. I don't have access to that right now, so I can't share it. But there is surveillance video that was released late yesterday afternoon into the night of surveillance footage from Covenant School that shows Audrey Hale driving up in her, I believe it was a Honda Fit vehicle.
Yeah.
Driving up in her Honda Fit, exiting the vehicle, approaching one of the side doors. It was a side door, but it was a glass door. It was actually two. You had to go through two glass doors to get into the school. They were locked from the outside, but available so you could walk. If kids had to get out of there fast, they could just open the door and get out. Audrey Hale took her weapon and shot out the glass of those doors. You can see it. You can watch her. Very systematically planned. She kicked out the glass. And in she went. You can see it. Now, I know there were reports yesterday that she pulled the fire alarm, possibly hoping to have kids running out of classrooms and whatnot. I don't know if she's the one that did that, but you can see in the surveillance footage the blinking of the lights.
The strobe light.
Yeah, the
strobes.
Those lights. You can see that in the video. So who pulled the alarm? We do not know. It's not shown in the video, but you can see it once she makes the second floor. And then you see her stalking the halls of that school, going indoors that she can open, looking, holding her gun at times in a way that, she's ready to shoot. She's ready to fire. And it's just interesting to me, especially through my own active training classes active shooter training classes that I've actually taken, how what has been told shooters do actually happen. And sure enough, they're stalking. They're looking to see who is out in the open so they can take out as much as they can. That's the goal, as much carnage, knowing full well they're not going to make it out of there alive. Now, you don't see this in this surveillance video. Perhaps you'll see it in the body cam footage. The other thing that I am amazed at, I'm always amazed at the mind of law enforcement and the mind of military. And this is where I might get emotional. I'm not going to apologize for it. You're just going to have to bear with me. The Metro Nashville police officers who drove up on that scene after the call was made were driving into fire, weapons fire, Audrey Hale was on the second floor, had broken out a window up there and started shooting at officers who had arrived on the scene. That's the information that we have. Now think about this. Those officers who woke up yesterday morning on first shift weren't thinking that today would be the day that they could die. Audrey Hale was, and we'll talk about that in a minute. These officers weren't, although they probably live with that mindset somewhere in the back of their heads. You know, somebody could target them, something could happen, and they don't come home that night. You have two officers who made it up to the second floor and were able to take her out. Made it into the building and immobilized this shooter. Out, gone, dead. We're told an officer was injured from broken glass, but no other officer was injured. Thank God. So those two officers, and I'll reveal their names here later, are heroes today. And the other officers that drove up on the scene, you know, look, the text messages started. You guys know our super text line was open. It's still open now. 615-737-9986. You guys started texting us. That's how we knew something was going on. Remember, Mac? You guys started saying, hey, there's about 50 cars swarming by us on Hillsborough Pike, on Hillsborough Road, over here in Green Hills. What's going on? That's when we started going, okay, there's something up. And then my phone started, beeping and whatnot. And it wasn't long after 10:13 that started happening even with us. And in fact, when we started going on the air with it, it was still a bit of an active scene. We didn't know if the active shooter was down or not. We hadn't gotten that information yet. So thank you, by the way, for being our on-the-spot reporters.
Seriously.
Thank you for your input.
I thought about that yesterday. I mean, we literally had super texts in by before 10:30 even, before we really even knew anything. That was the first time we heard of it. So
yeah, it was about 10. Yeah, it was about 10:20 or so.
Yeah. So, thank you. And then we were hearing about helicopters overhead, or it may have been a drone, but regardless, something was overhead, and they had cleared all the airspace in that area because they were also looking for kids, and didn't know if anybody else was in the woods over there. All the things. You were here, you were listening yesterday. It was quite interesting, to say the least. So now, the next day, here we are. Almost 24 hours later. And what do we do with all of this? I don't know about you. I've got a lot of friends in Nashville, and I think there's probably about a 2-degree separation with all of us on people that you know or may know that went to that school or went to that church, or you have a friend of a friend that went to that school, went to that church, or, there's always... I think 2 degrees of separation, maybe 3 at the most, from people who are connected to that church. I got lots of messages yesterday from people connected to that church and to that school. In fact, I'm going to read a really lovely piece written by someone who had been tutored by the substitute teacher that was killed yesterday. Well, if you guys are familiar with Natalie Hemby, incredible songwriter here in Nashville. Part of what do they call them? The Highway Women? She's a great artist, great singer, but grew up here in Nashville and was connected to that substitute teacher. A beautiful, beautiful piece written by her. So today we're dealing with the emotion and some anger and trying to figure out why. And for me personally, we can argue politics all day long and twice on Sunday. And yes, some of this is going to get political. I get that. But I think at the core of all of this is mental health, recognizing the signs instead of affirming problems, addressing those problems. And the truth of the matter, Audrey Hale she did not love who she was. She did not believe that she was wonderfully made by God. She did not believe that she was worth anything. And she was looking for ways to change it. Therefore, living as a man. And so, forget, the political part of this. She wanted to die. She told a friend that she did. She would die that day. She didn't want to live anymore. The friend did what she could to try to stop it. She did the right thing in what she did, and it was too late because she was Audrey Hale, already on her way inside the building. It is 9:17. At some point this morning, we are going to open up the phone lines and let you comment on all of this, and we welcome your comments as we all try to heal from what happened yesterday. I am Pamela Furr. This is Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Did the Covenant School shooter reveal to a friend on social media yesterday her mindset? Details coming up at 9:30. I'm Jay Harper on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you very much, Jay. I actually was going to talk about that here in this segment, but I'll wait till after your newscast at 9:30 to get those details. I am watching, actually, as we speak, some body cam footage of a Metro police officer. Looks like this is Rex Engelbert, one of the men who actually took out the shooter yesterday. And what's interesting to me, oh boy, so you also see, I guess they're employees of the school who are kind of hunkered down, but they're helping police officers, pointing them to where, I guess, the gunfire had happened and that sort of thing. They're also unlocking some of the doors, getting them into the actual building. Boy, and they worked fast. This is amazing. All right, now I can't watch this and talk to you at the same time, so I'm going to continue to watch this in the next break, and we'll tell you what I saw if you haven't seen it already. Some news agencies obviously are editing because it is quite graphic. What you'll end up seeing, and some people can handle it, some people can't when you're talking about real life. You know, I'm one of those people, just trying to break up the weirdness of this moment watching this. I can watch shoot 'em up movies and whatnot all day long. Shoot 'em up, you know, string 'em up westerns, all that kind of thing. Even sci-fi kind of things where people die. And you know, I watched, what were the True Blood, vampire, bloody kind of, and all that. Because I know it's not real.
Yeah, exactly.
But you show me something that I know is real,
oh, man.
And it messes with my head a little bit. Not going to lie, it messes with my head a bit. And I'm sure that's the case with everybody. You know what I mean? When you know it. That's why, now this was probably before your time. Jay was probably old enough to remember this. There were videos on VHS of a series called Faces of Death. Do you remember those, Jay?
No, I can't say that I do. I mean, I admit I'm old enough to probably should know that stuff, but no,
they were actually, it was like police, footage of death scenes, crash scenes, finding dead bodies, and so there's like this.
No, that's not my cup of tea. No.
Me neither. But there are people who can actually watch that. I can't. It's just no, because I know it's real. When I know it's fake, then it's no big deal because I know that's fake, and that's like a rubber face that's getting squished. But
I tell you, I'm fascinated by the body cam TV shows and whatnot. I think Investigation Discovery has body cam.
Yeah, a lot of that.
Yeah, mm-hmm. but they don't. They don't show all the graphic stuff, but it still shows you what the police deal with day in, day out.
And you have to make split-second decisions in some cases. And again, these Metro police officers yesterday were running into gunfire. They were running into the line of fire. And I can't think, I am so proud. Even though what happened yesterday was tragic, I've been singing the praises of our Metro Police Department all over this country. I've done, I think, 6-7 different interviews so far, and that's the first thing out of my mouth. The Metro Nashville Police Department were heroes yesterday, running into this line of fire. Their reaction time was phenomenal, and getting into that building from the time that they got there on the scene to getting in there and taking her out was just unbelievable. So bravo, and I'll keep saying it all day long, so just get used to it. Also,
and the teachers, too, with those kick stops on the doors.
Absolutely.
Their preparation, it seems like everyone from police force to teachers, faculty
did all the right things. Did all the right things. It could have been so much worse. And Haley, I keep calling her Haley. It's Audrey Hale, was prepared for that. That's what she wanted to happen. Now, I want to address something. So we're getting text messages, I guess, blasting me for calling Audrey Haley I keep saying Haley. Audrey Hale a girl. Guys, she was born a female, possibly transitioning to male, but she was living as a male, a transgender, going by the name Aiden. And we're going to learn after the newscast at 9:30. She did text a friend about what was going to happen yesterday. And so we'll get more details on that. But even in the text or the Instagram exchange, the name was Aiden. So she was living as a male. I'm going to refer to her as a her. I'm going to refer to her as a female. She deserves no respect from me. I don't feel sorry for her. This was a hate crime. This was, according to the police, a targeted shooting. It wasn't willy-nilly on a whim. It was planned and executed. And so I am calling her Audrey Hale. She was born a female. I'm sorry if that bothers you, but that's the decision I'm making. And I think that's what everybody else here has decided to do as well. We don't know her as Aiden. We know her as her birth name and obviously, what her car was registered to, I suppose. But that's the information that was released by police. I know that Chief Drake yesterday flubbed it just a little bit, but we do know that it was a female living as a male, Audrey Hale. It's 9:30. I am Pamela Furr on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hey, hold the air.
It is 9:30, and I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. It is mostly cloudy and 47 degrees. There are media reports suggesting that Covenant School shooter Audrey Hale contacted a friend on Instagram hours before opening fire at the school, saying that, quote, something bad is about to happen. Metro Nashville Police Chief John Drake appeared on Good Morning America this morning.
There is some speculation that the shooter did reach out to maybe a friend or some other people, but as of right now, that's unconfirmed.
In light of yesterday's tragedy, calls are again being made by some to tighten up the nation's gun laws. Nashville Mayor John Cooper was on NBC's Today Show this morning.
Gun safety and common sense regulations to kind of separate mental health challenges away from active gun ownership seem imperative. This is not, we used to do this a few years ago. What's happened is we've rolled back any common sense kind of understandings about how these assault weapons in particular are managed in America, and you end up with disasters and tragedies.
That is what's happening. The weather forecast is on the way. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Hi, I'm Paul Winkler. What's one of the biggest mistakes that I find that investors make? Well, it's typically buying based on past performance. We look at our 401k, we try to decide which fund should I buy, and tend to look at historical past performance over 3, 5, and you even hear investment advisors telling people to look at 3, 5, and 10-year track records. The problem is that what do markets do? They go up and they go down. Well, where did this have a great past performance? Here to here. So we end up buying high. We found that there was one study back in 1986, and it was called the Brinson-Hooden-Biebauer study. And they were looking at what drove investment returns more than anything else. And the study sort of looked like this. They said, stock selection, about 4% of investment differences were due to stock selection. About 2% was due to market timing differences. Asset mix, asset allocation, that was the big deal. Now, what they found, which was fascinating, was that when the pension plans engaged in these two activities, in one study it showed that 100% of the time, investment returns were lower and it increased risk. Not something you want when you're an investor. So this is something that we teach investors to help them sidestep some of these issues. Now, if you want to learn more about our approach to investing in financial planning, go to paulwinkler.com and set up a free 15-minute phone call. Or you can call 615-851-1950.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It is 9:37. I am Pamela Furr. Glad to have you with us today, Tuesday, March 28th. Good morning. It is a bit cloudy out there. Didn't we just hear we've got some storms that could be rolling in at some point? So just stay weather aware. I still have a roof that has tarps on it from our last windstorm. I wish these people would just hurry up so I can get my roof fixed. You know, you've got the insurance company and the roofers all negotiating, and it's very, very frustrating and moving very, very slow. But, here's what's so funny. On a day like today, I thank God for little frustrations. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Thank
Yes.
God for little frustrations, the little bitty things that get on your nerves. I'm glad to be alive and that I can be frustrated a little bit.
About something
Minor.
Yep.
Yes, on a day like today. Now, we have heard that the Metro Nashville Police Department have indeed released body cam footage of yesterday's shooting. So you can see how the officers went classroom to classroom looking for the shooter, finally ended up on the second floor. I mean, and this is happening within a matter of 60 seconds or so, where they get to the second floor and they figure out where the shooter is and they take her out. She's out. She's dead. And you can choose to watch that part of it or no, and that's up to you. Some of the TV stations are editing the last part out because it is graphic, and some people can't handle watching it. I've been singing the song today, Cher, don't you sometimes wish your heart was made of stone? So I'm putting the news hat on and trying to keep my composure and realizing, yes, this is real, but I need to be able to watch it so I can tell you exactly what it is that I saw. It's out there. So if you want to go to Metro Nashville Police Department Twitter account, I'm assuming it's on Facebook as well. The socials, all the things, you can find it there, but all the TV stations now have it posted. I don't know where we are on posting that video, but you can see it every place else. So feel free to do that. Now, I want to talk about the friend that Audrey Hale contacted yesterday. Now, I know that in our newscast, it was the possibility, there are rumors, and Chief of Police John Drake said that he couldn't confirm, but there are rumors that, et cetera, et cetera. Well, I can confirm because the friend has come out and said, I received these messages from Audrey yesterday. The transgender school shooter who killed 6 people, including 3 innocent children, sent a message to her friend, I'm planning to die today. You'll probably hear about me on the news. She sent the message through Instagram to her friend, and if I'm mispronouncing her first name, please forgive. It's Averiana Patton. And apparently they had played middle school basketball together and had remained friends all these years. And what I'm reading about Audrey Hale is that she grew up in these private schools her whole life, and I think had gone to the, is it called the Nazi School of Arts, studying graphic design. I've seen some of the things that she has created. She was a really good artist. She was a talented artist. I don't know if that's what she wanted to be throughout the rest of her life. She's 28 years old at this point. So I don't know what kind of work she was actually doing and if anybody actually worked with her or any of those things. No idea yet. I'm sure that's going to come out as we continue to paint the picture of who would do such a thing yesterday. But yesterday, she reached out to a friend and said, and by the way, this was 16 minutes before the cops were first notified. She said, so basically that post I made on here about you, that was basically a suicide note. Now, I don't know what that means, but this is the message. Quote, I'm planning to die today. This is not a joke. You'll probably hear about me on the news after I die. This is my last goodbye. I love you. See you again in another life. Audrey. And then in parentheses, Aiden, which is the male name that she was going by. Patton immediately called the cops to report the messages, but by the time that she had called the cops, it was too late. Patton told News Channel 5 that another message read, one day this will make more sense. I've left behind more than enough evidence, but something bad is about to happen. During an appearance on CNN this morning, this friend said that Hale had been suicidal in the past. Audrey had shared with others that she had been suicidal, and I knew to take this seriously. She also revealed that she was on hold for 7 minutes before someone answered her call to the non-emergency police line. Now, I can tell you, that is true. You call that line, the non-emergency line, you're going through a lot of other people that are calling. So I don't know if there's anything that could be done differently here. This friend did the right thing, though. I called Nashville's non-emergency line at 10:14 a.m., which, again, was already too late, and was on hold for nearly 7 minutes. I could tell you probably why. At this point, they were dealing with school shooting. The call had already come in to dispatch on the emergency line that a shooting was happening. And at that point, all eyes were on Covenant School. And there was no way at that time they would know the two were connected. Right? And I'm not trying to make any kind of excuses, but there's no way anybody would know the two incidents were connected at that point, because it was all just then happening. I called Nashville's non-emergency line at 10:14 a.m., was on hold for nearly 7 minutes before speaking with someone who said they would send an officer to my home. An officer did not come to my home until 3:29 p.m. The first 911 call of a shooting came at 10:13 a.m. By 10:27, police were at the school and had killed Hale on the second floor of the building. As we've been telling you, Hale shot her way through the school, firing through one of the locked doors, one of the glass locked doors. She then made her way through the first floor and up to the second. It remains unclear exactly how many shots she fired in total and whether anyone else was shot and injured. I don't think anyone else was shot and injured. This is according to the Daily Mail. I don't believe anybody else was shot and injured. But 6 people were killed. 7 if you include Audrey Hale. There are some photos that are out there of her looking like a very happy female. She was suicidal before. And I'm going to tell you something. In my opinion, as someone who has her own mental health issues, I have shared this with this audience before. I deal with anxiety issues. And anxiety and depression, there's such a fine line between going from anxious to depressed. There's a fine line there. So a lot of psychiatrists and psychologists treat some of the symptoms in the very same way. I have been on medication before for my anxiety issues. I have been without medication for my anxiety issues now for 10 years. And I don't regret it. I don't look back. I've found other ways and other tools to help me with my what if that will drive you insane if you're not careful. What if the sky falls tomorrow? What if I lose my job tomorrow? What if I die tomorrow? What if I'm in a car crash with this 18-wheeler hopping on my back on Interstate 40 over here? I mean, I deal with that. I deal with that every day. And you learn how to take deep breaths and center yourself and realize that none of those things are happening. So why am I reacting to things that haven't even happened yet? We can go down that road. Here's a woman who was dealing with depression. Here's a woman that was dealing with mental health issues. Do we know if her family tried to get her help? Do we know if she was in any kind of counseling for suicidal thoughts? We don't know at this point. I guess we're going to find out. But I can tell you that it is difficult to get help sometimes, especially if you don't have money. There was a time that with insurance even, they wouldn't cover the cost of psychological help. That's changed over the years. Thank God for that. I can tell you that people will call 911 when there is a mental health problem because they don't know where else to go. This young woman who called the police did the right thing. She did the right thing. Unfortunately, by the time that she called, the shooting had already started. The problem is with police. I don't mean just Nashville. I mean all over the country. You call that non-emergency line for somebody who needs some mental health help, and you get rolled through different departments. Well, hang on. We'll get somebody with you in a minute. 10 minutes later, well, hold on. We'll transfer you to this department. Okay, well, hold on. And I don't know that we are addressing the mental health crisis that we do have in this country. We're not equipped to. Police are for law enforcement. They serve and protect. We have to have another way to address our mental health issues and mental health issues even in our schools. And I'm sorry. I believe this with everything in my being. When you are an individual who believes that God made a mistake and created you as female when you should be male, that starts you on a rapid spiral into mental health issues, whether you like it or not. If you were created female, you have certain dominant hormones. And when you try to jack with that, that can have a detrimental effect on your mental health. I think as we can continue to study this, you're going to see this. I believe it with everything in me. 9:50, more to come on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
With the release of body cam footage, we're learning more as to what Nashville police officers encountered when they arrived on the scene of yesterday's tragedy at the Covenant School. Details coming up at 10. I'm Jay Harper on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you very much, Jay. I appreciate it. It is 9:57. After the newscast at 10 o'clock, we will open up the phone lines. And if you would like to react to what happened yesterday, we're going to let you do so. Our community is hurting right now. And so if you have things you want to say, if you want to go off on John Cooper for the asinine comments that he made yesterday, no offense, Mr. Mayor, but how he made it the gun's fault that this happened yesterday just made me scream at my radio during his press conference yesterday.
And Pamela, he actually reiterated those comments on the Today Show this morning.
Yes, that's what I have heard. And so, I mean, let's put this in perspective. Guns don't kill people. People kill people. Just like cars don't kill people. People behind the wheel doing the wrong thing kill people. Also, if you want to yell at President Biden for the comments that he made and yucking it up yesterday before giving a statement on what happened in Nashville. I mean, all the things. If you want to comment, if you have loved ones who go to that church, go to that school, maybe you were in the area. I mean, anything, any comment that you want to make, we'll take those today. 615-737-9986. You can get on the line and make your comments, and we'll get those on after the newscast right around 10:05, 10:06 this morning. Body cam footage is out from the officers that cleared the scene at Covenant School yesterday. These two officers are heroes today for sure. Say a prayer for them as you're praying for everybody here. Say a prayer for them and their families. All right, more to come on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It is exactly 10 a.m., and I'm Jay Harper. Mostly cloudy in Music City and 48 degrees. We'll have a complete weather forecast in just a couple of minutes. With the release of the dramatic body cam footage by the Nashville Police Department, we're learning more about the chain of events in yesterday's mass shooting at the Covenant School. The shooter, Audrey Elizabeth Hale, 28, who attended the school years ago, arrived on campus in her Honda Fit vehicle. She was heavily armed with 3 guns, 2 of them assault-type weapons, and as seen in surveillance video, shot her way into the church and school through doors on the side of the building. The first call to 911 about shots being fired in the building came in at 10:13 a.m. yesterday. Officers rushed to the campus, made entry, and began clearing the building. Metro Nashville Police Chief John Drake says time is of the essence in active shooter scenarios, especially when it involves children.
I was hoping this day would never, ever come here in this city, but we would never wait to make entry and to go in and to stop a threat, especially when it deals with our children.
Shots were heard coming from the second level. It was on the second floor in a common area that a team of officers encountered Hale shooting. She had been firing through a window at officers when they arrived in their police cars. 2 members of the officers' team fired on Hale and fatally wounded her. Those officers have been identified as Officer Rex Engelbert, a 4-year department veteran, and Officer Michael Colazzo with 9 years on the force. Writings recovered from Hale reveal that her attack was calculated and planned. A search warrant executed at Hale's Brightwood Avenue home resulted in the seizure of a sawed-off shotgun, a second shotgun, and other evidence. Authorities continue to pore over that evidence, including a manifesto left behind, in an effort to learn Hale's motive for the attack. That's what's happening. Weather's on the way. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Good morning. It is 10:04. I am Pamela Furr. Glad to have you on board today. It is Tuesday, the day after one of the most tragic events, I think, in Nashville history. We've had quite a few. Remember the Waffle House shooting? When that happened on a Friday night into Saturday, or was it a Saturday night into Sunday? But that happened. We had a church shooting where a woman was shot in the parking lot first, and then the guy went into the church and shot some other people and was taken down actually by a parishioner. And he's still in jail, right? I can't remember if that case has been adjudicated or not, or if they have determined he was too mentally unstable to stand trial. I don't recall, to be honest with you. So yesterday, we know what happened, right? Do I need to reset that? I don't think I do. We know what happened. Now we're dealing with today the aftermath of the shooting at this Covenant school in the Green Hills area of Nashville. 3 innocent children and 3 innocent adults were taken down by a woman who wanted to die and, just based on text messages to a friend, knew that she would be in the news. So she knew she had it planned. She knew what she was going to do, and she knew that she would be taken out by police. Now, the question is, why? That's what we're asking today. Why? Nashville Police Chief John Drake said police are still investigating what drove the killer to open fire yesterday morning. Where she used to be a student, by the way, so that's one hell of a grudge. That's years and years and years of a grudge. She also planned on shooting up another school, right? Isn't that what we heard from Chief Drake yesterday? But according to information that they had, changed her mind because there was too much security. So it was a hardened target. So she didn't do it. We'll keep you posted on all the latest that come out today. We're hoping to get more information about that manifesto that she left. She herself told a friend she left plenty of evidence behind. And that, quote, one day it would all make sense. I'm not sure how. These kinds of shootings are always senseless. So I'm opening up the phone lines for you to react today and say what you need to say and get it off your chest. And maybe all of us together in this community can try to make sense of this senseless act. You can also super text us as well. Oh, by the way, we are on Super Talk TV, Facebook Live, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube. So you can check us out there if you're not listening through streaming on 997WTN.com or, I don't know, the good old-fashioned way. We like to call that radio. 615-737-9986. Jim in Mount Juliet. Hey, Jim, how are you?
Good morning, Pamela. How you doing?
Great. So what's your comment about, great as can be expected, really. What's your comment about what happened yesterday?
Well, first of all, as a former cop, I am just in awe of the response of the guys that went into the school and took her out.
Yes.
Because put yourself in their place. They're taking fire on the outside. They go inside. They can hear more fire, and they can tell from the sound that this is a large caliber rifle. They know this ain't no pea shooter, okay? We're dealing with a substantial weapon, but they go to it. They don't sit around waiting for...
They don't hesitate.
Yeah, no hesitation.
None.
And as far as shooting her, absolutely necessary, had to be done. But the main reason for my call is, you've got to excuse me, I had spinal surgery yesterday morning, and they put a tube in me, so it's a little rough in the throat.
That's all right, Jim. Hello? Are you there?
Cooper's remarks this morning just infuriated me, but it didn't really surprise me. It's the same old dog and pony show that happens every time one of these happens. We need common sense gun laws and regulations. Okay, I have a challenge for John Cooper and Joe Biden and everybody else that uses this tired old mantra. Please explain to me a gun law or regulation that would have prevented yesterday's tragedy.
Exactly, Jim. On that note, I'm going to let you go. Thank you for your call. I hope you recover from your surgery that you had one day after surgery, and he's calling us. Thank you for doing that. But I agree with you. What gun law on the books or in the future would have prevented what happened yesterday? She was not a criminal. She was also not considered mentally unstable, correct? At least not that we know of right now. We could find out something later. So if she wasn't considered any of those things, what would have prevented her from having a firearm to do this? Besides, she was determined to die, and she was determined from a text message or an Instagram message, she was determined to be in the news, right? So if she didn't get the weapons legally, she could have gotten them illegally. There are those that are saying, well, it's because of now our so-called open carry laws that we have now here in the state and permitless carry here in the state. And that's why we know none of that at this point, number one. And number two, you still have to go through certain background checks depending on where you buy the gun. Am I not right about that? Let's go to Rhonda in Murfreesboro, 615-737-9986. Hey, Rhonda.
Hey, how are you?
I'm fabulous. How are you?
I'm doing good. And I so agree with you, especially about the whole she was born a female, this bullcrap about her being a male or transitioning to a male. It's just that, bullcrap. And you're right. It does not matter what laws are on the books. Our constitutional right is we can keep and bear arms. And this woman, was determined to kill and be killed by suicide by cop. And for her to go in and shoot and kill 3 innocent adults and then 3 innocent children, she deserves to die. And she will have her repentance from God. And God is going to be, it's an abomination for anybody to be gay. And I have gay friends, but I'm telling you, what this woman did yesterday, I'm so mad at people that want to say guns kill. Because guns don't kill.
Thank you, Rhonda. It's the people behind the gun. Thank you. I appreciate your phone call today. And I know that you want to get into the aspects of what's an abomination to God and what isn't and all of that with lifestyle. I think we can debate that later, quite frankly. We're talking at this moment the abomination of killing 6 innocent people. And getting to such a mental state that you believe that you have to die, you have no choice, and you're taking other people out with you. Innocents who have nothing to do with you and your problems. How do we get there? Let's go to Lindsay. Lindsay, welcome to WTN. I appreciate your phone call today.
Thank you, Pam, my sister. Thanks for being there and keeping us informed. And go cops.
Wow.
Heroes I donate
today.
To the FOP. Heroes all around the country that no wonder they don't want to get hired when they're getting ambushed and put down and all this. But I was in that vicinity, and it really touched me earlier when you said, our little petty worries. Yeah, I had a doctor appointment that I was so worried about. And I had a bus driver taking me up there. I'm about 2 hours away. And once we realized on the radio, thanks to you guys, what was going on, and this is closed and that's closed, I mean, we pulled over, And this is the strength of Americans. This complete stranger, this nice old guy of a bus driver, we were tearing up together, going, oh my God, these poor people. And yeah, let's, not go into that area. And my little problem seems so petty all of a sudden.
Doesn't it? It just Lindsay, yes. I mean, it just puts everything into perspective. I appreciate your phone call. It does. In moments like that, it puts your whole life into perspective. What's important and what is not. It also puts in, for me, I want to make sure I know my neighbor, I know my church family, and know what's going on in their lives. How can I help? Seems to be the phrase that's coming out of my mouth in the last, 24 hours? How can I help here? What can I do? And then, sometimes you just want to say to certain individuals, please stop talking. I'm talking to you, Mayor John Cooper. Please stop talking. I'm talking to you, President Trump. Please stop talking.
President Biden.
What did I say?
President Trump.
Oh, my goodness. Well, see, that's just Freudian, I suppose. Prophetic, maybe. I don't know. But Chief John Drake was on Good Morning America this morning, and he told those he was speaking to, of course, that this investigation continues, and we're very early into it. Can you turn on my computer there, my friend? Yep. All right, let's try this again. We're very, very into the beginning of this investigation.
We've been to the house on Brightwood. We recovered more firearms at that house, and we'll continue picking up where we left off yesterday.
Now, it's my understanding that 2 of the weapons were legal. I don't know about the third. I know that I got blasted yesterday. And let me just, before I take some more phone calls. Phone lines are completely solid. Thank you. Text messages are also open, 615-737-9986. Let me address this, if you don't mind. Chief Drake, Don Aaron, others from Nashville Police Department described these as assault-type weapons yesterday, in the beginning of everything that was unfolding. Therefore, as a reporter, I'm quoting what they are saying. And I thought I made that clear yesterday. And yes, some of us continue to refer to them as assault-type weapons. In my opinion, if you're killing someone, all of your weapons are assault-type weapons if you really want to get down to it. Now, I am not a gun aficionado. I'm just a gun owner for protection, that sort of thing. But I can't look at a gun and tell you what kind it is. I can look at a gun and say that would hurt me if it were pointed at me. Or I can look at a gun and say, I will use this if you attack me or my property, et cetera, et cetera. But I'm not, so I can't look at those guns and tell you what they are. I do know they're not AK-47s, thank you, Biden, making that statement long before we knew anything about the weapons that were used. The Metro Police Department have released photos of the weapons so you can see for yourself. And if you are a gun aficionado, you can look at them and tell them what they are. Tell anybody what they are. But in the heat of the moment, as the news was breaking, as information was coming out yesterday, which in the beginning, some of it is not quite accurate. We thought it was a different school in the very, very beginning, remember? And it ended up being Covenant School. Thank God it wasn't any other schools besides one. It could have been more. So in the beginning, that's the information that I had, and that's the information that I reported. That's all I can do. I'm not right there. I'm not in the middle of it. So I would ask you to show a little bit of mercy, as gun lovers as we are. I wasn't there. I was quoting the police department, who, again, let's establish, heroes yesterday. Let's take one more call before we head to the break. Let's go to Eric in White House on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, Eric.
How are you doing, man?
Great.
I'll be brief. I'm working, but I'm not going to mention names, but I do know personally the Metro chaplain for the Metro Police Department. And he had asked a bunch of us to keep him in his prayers because he said it's going to be a rough next couple of weeks, because I don't know, I'm sure he has to deal with the officers that actually had to do what they had to do, as well as maybe even some of the family members. But I know his plate has got to be full because he's carrying all of their burdens, and I'm just asking all the listeners to put him in their prayers.
Absolutely. Eric, thank you so much for your call. I appreciate that. I didn't even think about the chaplain, and you're right. Think about this, too. Those officers not only took out the shooter, bravo, heroes, but the other officers that were surrounding the children that ended up being evacuated. You also had the children that ended up in an ambulance on the way to the Vanderbilt emergency room, who ended up dying. You've got those police officers that had to see that. I think John Drake even said he teared up when he was seeing the bodies taken in ambulances to the hospital. So we have to pray for them, because you don't want to see that. Little innocent children. And the adults. Let's not forget them either. All right, more calls to come. I'm Pamela Furr on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It is about 24 hours since yesterday's tragedy at the Covenant School. Investigators are now sifting through the evidence left behind. I'll have details at 10:30. I'm Jay Harper on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you very much, Jay. In fact, some of those weapons, part of the evidence that was left behind, they're still combing the house where this shooter lived. And I think I heard yesterday the shooter did live with at least her father. I don't know if the mother lived there or not. But the mother had some social media postings in the past, and we can talk about that a little bit later. Apparently, the weapons that were used, I now have some of that information. A Kel-Tec Sub 2000. You gun lovers will know what that is. I don't know what that is. It's a gun. A Kel-Tec Sub 2000 carbine rifle, a Grunt 300 blackout rifle, and a 9mm handgun. I think I'm describing all of these properly. And Chief Drake says it appears at least some of the guns were purchased legally in the area. So keep that in mind. I don't know if all of them were, but at least some of them. I think they've even gone specifically with at least 2 were purchased legally, and they're still looking into the others. 615-737-9986 is the phone number. You can also send us a super text at that line if you have a comment that you'd like to make. We're all still trying to heal and process what happened yesterday. Boy, you know, the other thing, as I'm taking your calls, and I've got William and John and Randy and Greg, stand by. I'm going to take your calls. But one of the things that hit me, I don't have children, but I have a lot of friends that do have children that are hugging their kids a little tighter today. How do you explain to your young children what happened yesterday without them being fearful of going back to school? I can't even imagine. That is a hard conversation to have. Let's go to John in Nashville. Hey, John, welcome to WTN.
Hey, Pamela, how are you?
Fantastic, thank you.
I am a father of 2 metro schools, both elementary school, and my wife was pretty much in tears dropping them off today, saying, this is crazy. It was just a weird, eerie feeling. My concern now is finding out, talking to a couple of school officers that I know, is that Metro they're not even allowed to carry weapons in Metro schools.
Right.
To even protect our kids.
Right.
And, that bothers me extremely because, what's there to protect them? There's no fencing. There's nothing for that,
Well, there are a lot of things.
My heart goes out to the.
Go ahead, John. I'm sorry.
My heart goes out to the families, of course, yesterday, obviously, but at the same time, we have to look at the future, how to prevent these things. And that's,
you do. And it takes a lot of effort, like a circle of things that have to take place to prevent something like this from happening again. When something like this happens, you always do an after, assessment, a debrief, whatever you want to call it. You go back and look and see how people could have done some things differently. I got to tell you, even looking at the body cam footage, looking at the surveillance footage that has been released, that school obviously knew what to do to get kids out of harm's way. Otherwise, there could have been a lot more carnage. As the police are going what looks to be classroom to classroom, they had already started evacuating kids out of the building. And in a way that was in the opposite direction of the shooter, obviously. Bravo. So we have to make sure that our schools know how to do these kinds of things and unfortunately prepare in case there's another school here that's targeted, in case there are copycats out there who wish to do this, die by way of cop and taking out anybody else with them. That's a person who is deranged, obviously mentally unstable. There's some evil, and they have gone to a place, what does the Bible describe it as? A reprobate mind. They've gone to a place where there is no safe. Once you pull the trigger, there's no going back. It's over. It's over. You're done. And it's difficult to have sympathy and empathy for someone evil enough to want to take down innocent children and involve them in the hate that you have for yourself, for God, for people, whatever. It's a sad day. We're still trying to heal. We're still trying to get through it, and we are taking your calls. Anything you have to say, we will be happy to take your phone call. 615-737-9986 as we continue to watch to see if any of the manifesto information will be released today, or any other information about the shooter is released today, or any more information leading up to 10:13 yesterday morning. That's all I had on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It is 10:31, and I'm Jay Harper. It's mostly cloudy and 50 degrees now on Music Row. A complete weather forecast is upcoming. 24 hours after the armed attack at the Covenant School in Nashville, investigators have a trove of evidence to sort through, much of it provided by the shooter.
Surveillance video from Covenant School shows Audrey Hale stalking adults and children in the hallways. Hale is carrying a Kel-Tec Sub 2000 carbine rifle, a Grunt 300 blackout rifle, and a 9mm handgun. At the shooter's home,
More firearms at that house. We'll continue picking up where we left off yesterday.
Nashville Police Chief John Drake says it appears that at least some of the guns were purchased legally in this area.
That is Jim Ryan reporting. That's what's happening. I'm Jay Harper. Weather is next, and this is WTN News.
Hi, I'm Paul Winkler. What's one of the biggest mistakes that I find that investors make? Well, it's typically buying based on past performance. We look at our 401k, we try to decide which fund should I buy, and tend to look at historical past performance over 3, 5, and you even hear investment advisors telling people to look at 3, 5, and 10-year track records. Problem is that what do markets do? They go up and they go down. Well, where did this have a great past performance? Here to here. So we end up buying high. We found that there was one study back in 1986, and it was called the Brinson-Hooden-Biebauer study. And they were looking at what drove investment returns more than anything else. And the study sort of looked like this. They said, stock selection, about 4% of investment differences were due to stock selection. About 2% was due to market timing differences. Asset mix, asset allocation, that was the big deal. Now, what they found, which was fascinating, was that when the pension plans engaged in these two activities, in one study it showed that 100% of the time, investment returns were lower and it increased risk. Not something you want when you're an investor. So this is something that we teach investors to help them sidestep some of these issues. Now, if you want to learn more about our approach to investing in financial planning, go to paulwinkler.com and set up a free 15-minute phone call. Or you can call 615-851-1950.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It is 10:36. I am Pamela Furr. Glad to have you today. 737-9986 is the phone number. We are taking your phone calls today. You can also send us a message on the super text line. More than happy to do that. A former student, we know this, who killed 3 children and 3 adults at a Christian elementary school in Nashville, had some resentment for having to go to that school. This is according to Police Chief John Drake with the Metro Nashville Police Department. He said police are still investigating what drove the killer to open fire yesterday morning. He said in an interview with NBC News that investigators believe the killer had some resentment for having to go to that school. But I want you to think about this for a second. Resentment for having to go to that school. She was 28 years old. That is a long time to hold a grudge. And if his wording was for having to go to that school, be mad at your parents. Why are you mad at the school? Would be my first question. Drake also provided chilling examples of the killer's elaborate planning for the shooting. She had a map of the building marking possible entry points and conducted surveillance before carrying out the attack. We have a manifesto, he said. We have some writings. We have writings that pertain to this actual date, Drake says. The actual incident, he says. I think I heard that there were writings found actually in the car that she arrived in. He also provided chilling examples of the killer's elaborate planning for the shooting. We have a manifesto. We have writings. We're going over them. We have a map drawn out of how this was all going to take place. So it was strategic. It was methodical. It was evil. They have a theory also, a working theory in relation to Audrey Hale's motive that they may be able to talk about later, but it's not confirmed. And you know what? I have to say this. In the position that John Drake is in, I don't know what his political affiliation is. I have no clue, and it does not matter. But I noticed yesterday as he is answering questions of reporters how uncomfortable he seemed with using the word transgender. And I don't think it's because he doesn't like the word. I think yesterday he has to choose his words carefully because if he says the wrong thing, he'll get blasted. If he says something that seems to be more left-leaning, he'll get blasted. Right-leaning, he'll get blasted. You got to just deal with the facts. And unfortunately, these days, on March 28th, 2023, the word transgender has a lot of people riled up on both sides. It's a politically incorrect or correct word, depending on what side of the aisle you're on. Instead of just describing this human being that lived as transgender, people are going to add their politics to it. So he can't win. So I believe that's why he was very careful in the wording that he chose yesterday. Personally, that's what I believe. I could be wrong. That's what I believe. 737-9986 is the telephone number. Let's go to Mark in Manchester. He's been holding on for a bit. Hey, thank you, Mark, for calling.
Hey, Pamela, how are you?
I'm fabulous.
Hey, two quick points. One, quick comment, and then 2 quick points. One is I'd like to know that second location that she had spotted out.
I know. We don't know what that is yet, do we?
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Very interesting.
2 points. One is even before seeing the body cam, these guys are heroes. The quick action that they did and the fact that they went in.
Oh, yeah.
No hesitation. But then when I saw the body video, I encourage everybody to see that because my heart was pounding from the get-go. out of my chest, because it's some scary stuff.
Yeah.
And I'd hate to be in that position.
100%.
Really, those guys are heroes, and I'd even say the chief's a hero for having that type of a policy. So, I'd nominate them for some type of award, for doing what they did yesterday.
Nashvillian of the Year, whatever it might be. Free beer down at Redneck Riviera from now on. John Rich, I know you're listening. Let's make that happen. Anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yes. Second thing is I hate to see the politicians politicalize this. Every chance that they get, they're going to take advantage of that, and it's pretty disgusting. It's a horrific event, and they did it not even within an hour of it occurring. Didn't even let anything settle, and it's just disgusting. But they'll use this the gun issue, but they don't want to talk about the drugs that are pouring in across the borders and killing, even as horrific as this is, killing more people.
Right.
And they don't address it, and I just find that's despicable.
Yeah. Thank you, Mark, for your phone call. I appreciate that today. I'm in agreement with you, Mark. I certainly am. And let me point this out. Now, if you haven't seen the body cam footage yet, seriously, go watch it. Listen to me and watch the video at the same time. And you will see. Now, we had 2 officers that are hailed as heroes today because they're the ones that took out the shooter. But as you'll notice in the body cam footage, there were more than just 2 cops that were inside the building. And you had those that were suited up. And I saw one guy who didn't even have a helmet on. So he had his vest on, but he didn't have any head protection gear. Think about it. He could have been shot very easily in the head. And those thoughts kept going through my mind as I was watching all of this. So everyone who entered the building while shots were being fired at them, heroes. Everybody who stayed there on the ground in the line of fire to keep her attention pointed at those cops while others went inside the building to take her out, those men and women, I have no idea if women were there, but those police officers, all of them are heroes today. All of them. Thank God for them. Very proud of them. Let's go to John in Antioch, 615-737-9986. Hey, John.
Hey, how you doing?
Fabulous.
All right, so one point that people keep bringing up is that this person was trans. I don't think that matters at this point. When it boils down to it, I don't care political party. I don't care what transition they're in. I don't care who they love or care about. It all came down to you attacked the school. And you attacked innocent people. And what made it double was you were after a school. And that's where it needs to stop. I don't care where you came from. And I think that's where things get muddled right now.
When you bring politics into it, it can get muddled. I don't disagree. But the facts are she was a woman who was living as a man. That is a fact.
Oh, definitely a fact. But what I'm saying is, the fact being, yes. But I don't think that plays into, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think it plays into why
the bottom line is this evil individual shot 6 innocent people.
Exactly.
Yeah, I get you.
And doubling that down is, I've seen a lot in social media right now where people are going like, saying, oh, well, it's going to be the reverse now. They're going to go after the LGBTQ community. I'm like, no, let's not do that. Let's not make it worse than it is. Let's not let this person, if they had a motive for that being it, let's not make this happen.
Right.
It needs to stop.
Yeah. Thank you, John, for your phone call. It's this individual that made the decision yesterday to pull the trigger, period. So I'm not going to go after the transgender community because of this one very troubled individual, this one evil individual who felt like the answer to her problems was to pull the trigger and take other people out. Right? I'm not going after the transgender community, but as we continue to see what unfolds, do we not have to ask the question as to when you, and I don't know if this person was taking any kinds of hormone treatments, hormone blockers, anything like that. But I'm more and more becoming a person that believes when you try to stop the body from doing what it's naturally supposed to be doing, it's going to end up causing you problems. Whether it's medical or mental, it's not natural for a female to be a male. In some very rare cases, I understand that it happens where you have both sex organs, all of those things. That's not the discussion that we're talking about right now. That's a different category. That's a different set of medical things that you do in that case, et cetera, et cetera. I think we do have to look at the mental health of people who are trans, who are going through the transition. But I thought that long before yesterday and the trigger was pulled. I've been saying that for a year or two or 5. And because people want to be so inclusive and so diverse that we've overlooked deep, deep, deep problems with hormones that make people a little crazy. And I don't mean, see, I'm going to get blasted for using that term. How about off kilter? How's that? Mentally ill. It's 10:48. Let's go ahead and let's take a break here if you don't mind, Mac. We'll take more of your phone calls. I'll get you the latest on what we have. So will Jay in the newsroom on what happened yesterday. I'm taking this time today, with permission, by the way, to just let's vent. And as a community, let's just talk this out together. All right? I'm Pamela Furr on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
The shock of yesterday's Nashville tragedy continues to sadden not only the Nashville community, but the nation. And U.S. gun violence continues to increase. Details coming up at 11. I'm Jay Harper on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you very much, Jay Harper. It is 10:55. I am Pamela Furr. Glad to have you on board today. 615-737-9986 is the phone number. You can also super text us there. By the way, in the middle of all of this, as we're healing, if you want to have an opportunity to gather in person with the gang at WTN, you're invited to do so Thursday night at Parthenon Grill in Murfreesboro. I believe you can find all the information at 997WTN.com, where you can buy tickets and whatnot. You'll get to enjoy a delicious dinner from the Parthenon Grill as we broadcast live starting at 6 o'clock Thursday evening. Break bread as the gang talks about all the current topics. Obviously, what happened on Monday will probably be part of the conversation that will take place on Thursday and other things. I mean, there are other things going on in the world. My eyes are on it. Trust me. But I wanted to give you and I, as part of this community, a time to just kind of make a statement publicly. I think that helps us all heal, quite frankly, and maybe we can look at things in a different way if we hear something different from one of you. So that's why I'm opening up the phone lines. At any rate, on this Parthenon Grill thing, 997WTN.com, you can find more information about that. Let's go to William in Manchester, who's on the line today. Been holding for quite a while. Thank you, William. What's your comment about what happened yesterday?
Pam?
Yes.
This is Glenn, not William.
Glenn. Okay, got it.
I'm going to try to get through this without completely going off the rails. And I get the whole, everybody wants to talk about transgender, the guns, this, that. I put myself in the shoes of that mother or that father that's fixing to bury that child. Do you think they care why this happened? What we need to be focused on, and I'm begging every lawmaker, and I don't care if they're Democrat, Republican, Independent, it doesn't matter to me. Take your butt to that state capitol today. Lock yourself inside that state capitol, and do not come out of there until you reach an agreement. And I don't care how much money it costs. You can spend millions of dollars to build a Titan Stadium, to do this, do that. You got the money. Let's prevent this from happening by securing our schools with whatever it takes. Bulletproof glass all the way around, buzzers to buzz in and out, armed guard, it doesn't matter to me how you do it. Let's fix the problem. And then we'll talk about what caused the problem. And we can debate that till the cows come home. But right now, every child in the state of Tennessee deserves to be safe when they leave their home and they go to the schoolhouse. And I am angry that no lawmaker wants to address that. They want to play politics. And I am begging the people that called into this station and listen to this station and everywhere else, get on the phone today and demand that your representative, local, state, county, federal, do something. Because I'm going to guarantee you, if an earthquake hit Nashville today and the bridge over the Cumberland River fell in, they would have a plan to rebuild that bridge tomorrow. Well, this is way important, more important than a bridge. We're talking about our children. And I am fed up with the politics of all of it. And I'm looking for a leader to shut your mouth and take action. And I don't care who it is.
William,
I am angry.
I can tell, and I don't think I could have said it any better. We're going to leave it at that. News is next on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It is 11 a.m., and I'm Jay Harper. It is cloudy and 51 degrees in Music City. We'll have a weather forecast here shortly. The Nashville Police Department has released dramatic body cam footage of yesterday's mass shooting at the Covenant School in Nashville. The shooter, 28-year-old Audrey Hale, used 2 long rifles and a pistol in the attack. The shooter was taken down by police less than 15 minutes after the first 911 call was placed. But in that short time, 7 families were forever changed, says Nashville Mayor John Cooper.
Guns are quick. They don't give you much time. So even in a remarkably fast response, there was not enough time.
ABC News spoke with the mother of the shooter, 28-year-old Audrey Hale, who was in disbelief and mourning. The suspect had no criminal history. Authorities are now combing through materials they say they retrieved from the shooter. ABC News Chief Justice Correspondent Pierre Thomas says it's one more in a list of mass shootings so far this year.
There have been 131 mass shootings with 4 or more people wounded or killed so far this year. That's compared to 113 at this time last year. So far this year, 502 people have been wounded and 193 have been killed in such attacks.
That is what's happening this morning. Your weather forecast is on the way. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Good morning. It is 11:04. I am Pamela Furr. Glad to have you on board today. 615-737-9986 is our telephone number. It's also our super text number. You can find us on Super Talk TV. It's on right now, Facebook Live, Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube. We are reeling from what happened now 24 hours ago here in Nashville, Tennessee. As we recap, the latest information that we have is that Audrey Hale was a lone shooter yesterday at Covenant Presbyterian School, a school that housed 200 students. And I've seen anywhere from 30 to 60 faculty members. I don't know if all faculty members were on campus yesterday. The call came in at 10:13, and by 10:27, Audrey Hale was shot and killed by Metro Nashville police officers. They've released the names and the photos of the two police officers who did the shooting yesterday. However, you had more people involved in the strategic clearing of that building and getting to the shooter. There were more than two. Bravo today to the Metro Nashville Police Department. I'm not sure I can say it any louder. I'm not sure I can be any prouder. Today, Metro Police are going through the manifesto. They're going through all the evidence that they secured from the home where Audrey Hale lived. Apparently lived with her parents. She also has a brother from some photos that I'm now seeing that's coming out. The mother, you heard Jay just spoke about in the newscast. The mother has spoken to ABC News, but only because she picked up the phone. She has not granted any kind of interview with anybody. She's basically asking, I need some privacy at this time. I think I lost my daughter was also a comment that she made to ABC News. So we're looking at two parents and a brother. I'm reading from the New York Post that says Haley only recently started identifying as a man. So in all the pictures that you are probably seeing now on the internet, those that show her dressed as a guy and identifying as a guy, they're recent. I've seen posts and comments of people that went to school with her who never knew that she was dealing with depression, never knew that she wanted to be a guy, always knew her as Audrey. So that's something that was recent. Neighbors told ABC that Hale lived at home with her parents. They described very nice, very religious. A family friend and neighbor said, I've known her since she was a baby and saw no signs that this artist would become the latest school shooter. Never. She was very sweet, according to this friend. I don't know what happened. It's very scary. It's tragic for everybody. The sweet children that were hurt, killed, adults, all of it. A neighbor also told NBC News this was a great family. And this is a tragedy. The neighbor said Hale was a normal, nice person, maybe a little quiet, but always nice. Audrey's parents are probably just as shocked as everybody else in the neighborhood is. It doesn't seem real. There's nothing, again, this is another neighbor, there is nothing that would have led me to believe that she was capable of such a thing or that anybody in that family would have access to, much less ever used a gun. They just don't seem like that family. Former classmates at the Nashville School of Arts, where Hale studied from around 2011 to 2014, expressed similar shock. What she did was unforgivable, but when I knew her, she was funny. She was a sweet girl. Thought for sure it was a mistake at first, but then when we found out it was real, was shocked. She didn't really fit into the school shooter archetype, another friend said. I don't know what would have happened to turn her into this person that we see on the news. Really, none of it. And none of us would have seen it coming. There is one friend, though, who's not identified, that told the news no one was surprised when Hale came out as trans after graduating. She was a talented artist, a good student. Our thoughts and prayers go to the family, et cetera, et cetera. Now, the body cam footage is out. We haven't seen the manifesto yet. We don't know the exact motivation, but Chief John Drake has said it looks like there was some sort of grudge against this school. She also had plans to target another building, but because that building had too much security, in other words, it was a hardened target, she did not go through with any plans to go after that building. I can't recall right at this moment if he said it was another school or just another building. But they have all that information. It just has not been released yet to my knowledge. Hail, hail to Metro Nashville Police when you see how they went through that building. Let me tell you this, and then we'll go to the phone lines here to get your reaction, because we're trying as a community now to heal, right? And I tell you, for me personally, another way that I heal is through music. And I've got a song I'm going to play before this hour is over, before the Matt Murphy show, that I want to share with you that I think expresses exactly what we all want to say. But that's coming up here before the hour is over. Let me read this to you from a friend who sent this. As a Marine veteran who has cleared buildings and attack enemy fighters in an urban environment in both Iraq and Afghanistan, those MNPD officers cleared that building and engaged the shooter with textbook form and communication. Well done by them. Great leadership and training displayed yesterday. Amen to that. Can't help but tear up on that one. 615-737-9986. Let's go to Gary on the line. Hey, Gary.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Glad to be here.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
I think Franklin Graham said it the best when he was talking to Greta Van Susteren yesterday and said, listen, this is about evil. You know, that's it. Whether it's knives, sticks, bats, whatever, guns, that's what it is. And that was yesterday without knowing really much about this woman. And the point I want to make, and I'm retired military, and I was in the Marines too. I have guns, I have weapons. I have no desire to do this. I don't know what possessed this young lady. But I do know this. There is a statistic that has information captured from 1972 until some years ago. And I remember reading this, that the vast majority of these mass-type shootings do happen in more affluent communities. And, of course, the individual-type shootings happen in more inner-city communities. But there's something missing, and I think social media, all that invasive stuff, to a degree, parenting, I'm just trying to throw it all together. But solving social problems using guns, and it's now coming for what appears to be an innocent person, someone, there's no signs. There's no law and no gun control that is going to prevent this. And disarming those of us who have no desire and will defend our own homes or defend our individual lives, to disarm us.
Right. That's not the answer, Gary.
That's not the answer.
That's not the answer.
14 minutes is still a long time, and I hail, yes, Metro response is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But my home invasion is not going to be a 14-minute solution. It's going to be immediate. That's what I have to say.
All right, thank you. I don't know that your home is as large as Covenant School, but I appreciate your telephone call. I don't know what the answer is. I don't know if those teachers wanted to be armed. I don't know. I don't know any of those questions. I don't know that it's appropriate to ask them directly today, maybe on Monday. Let them get through the week and let them get through this morning. What could they have done differently? We do know that they went through active shooter training. And I think because of that, there was less carnage. It could have been so much more. She, Audrey Hale, was armed enough to take out more innocent lives than she did. And so through that training, you saw through the surveillance video that has been released, you saw her going through the hallways, going through different rooms looking for people. And because of the training, she didn't find as many people as she wanted. I believe that with all of my heart today. Meanwhile, you have 6 people that are trying to figure out what are they going to do without their loved one. You've got 6 people today trying to answer the question, why? I think William, before the 11 o'clock news, in his anger and passion, which was so well spoken, he's asking, do you think those parents care that Audrey Hale was transgender? No, they don't. They are asking God, why today? We're all asking God, why today? Let's go to John, who's on the line. Hey, John, welcome to WTN. Thank you for calling today.
Hey, Pamela. Thank you for taking my call. So I have a couple points. One is the news media and everybody keeps talking about this girl. We need to quit glorifying these shooters and giving them
glorifying
10 minutes. I know, but what I'm saying is, it's a constant thing about Aubrey Hale. There's very mention of those 3 children that were slaughtered. Okay. And for people that have this demented mindset, when they sit and watch this and see all of the coverage that shooter is getting, it's giving them the fame that they want because they're not getting it from inside the home. They're not getting it from their peers. And a lot of it starts with parents. If parents do not stay engaged in their children's lives and know what their children are doing and set rules and stability for their children and quit trying to be their friend, you're going to continue to have these problems. And the other thing that they, just like Biden said yesterday, that she went in with an AK-47, an assault rifle. She did not. In that video that she's standing and turning and going into that office, she was carrying a Kel-Tec sub 2009 millimeter.
All right, so hold up, John. So I understand your passion. So hold on just one second. So let me comment. First of all, we had not seen the video yesterday. We didn't know what weapons she had yesterday. Joe Biden should have never opened his mouth when it came to what weapons were used. That's number one. So look, with all due respect to the office of the presidency of the United States, Joe Biden's an idiot and should have never said that. Right?
I agree 100%.
So we're on that same page. Now, I know that you're criticizing the media at this moment, and that I hear your passion and I hear your pain. But we have to tell you the facts. And it's not...
No, I agree.
Please let me finish. Please let me finish. So we have to tell you the facts. And I try every time to tell you that 3 young children were killed and 3 innocent adults were also killed. So I'm not telling you anything you don't already know. So I'm not glorifying, and no one else in the media either is glorifying this shooter. And
that may have been a bad choice of words.
Okay. That's okay.
But what I'm saying is, from someone that has that mindset, that wants to commit harm to someone, that when they see that person getting all of this attention, it gives them more and more fuel to that fire for them to get the attention that they're not getting from their parents.
So we shouldn't report it?
No, you should report it. But what I'm saying is, it needs to be more about the victims and less about the person who did it.
Okay.
Is what I'm getting at. And the other thing, that everybody talks about social media, about Twitter, Facebook, and everything else. When her name came out yesterday, I I looked her up on Facebook. There is a picture on there of her in a black dress with glasses holding a machine gun in the woods.
Do you know for
that
sure?
Right there.
Hold on, John. Do you know for sure that was her?
Yes, because there was multiple other pictures of her right there together, and it was the same person.
Got it. Okay.
So that, to me, that's an alarm. And if her parents are being involved in her life, or her friends that say, oh, she was a sweet person, she was a great person, if they were involved in her life and friends with her on social media, that should have thrown up a red flag, most especially when they're seeing that this sweet, innocent girl has gone into depression or has changed and is suddenly identifying as a bully.
Well, the photo that you saw, did it, with her holding a gun, did it have any kind of post that said, I'm depressed? So, I mean, what kind of red? I mean, seriously, John. I mean, I know we're Monday morning quarterbacking here, but just seeing a picture of her holding a gun may not be a red flag to anybody, because we live in a free country where she, as an adult, was legally able to own and hold a gun.
Correct. But when you sit and if you Google, I'll ask you to Google the picture or Facebook the picture. What I'm saying is everybody that said that they were a Christian family, they were a great family, she was very sweet, she was very kind, she was an artistic person.
Yeah.
If none of that fits into her holding a gun,
I disagree with that. Just on the surface, I might have to disagree with your assessment on that, John. That music, I'm now over my time, so I have to take a quick break. More of your phone calls coming up and more of this discussion. I'm Pamela Furr on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Many are calling for tighter gun laws after Monday's mass shooting in Nashville. At 11:30 this morning, we'll hear from the Nashville mayor on the subject. I'm Jay Harper on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you very much, Jay. It is 11:25. I am Pamela Furr. Thank you for being with us today. You know, I want to do this, and I know the phone lines are full. If you can get, well, actually, I think I have one line open. 737-9986 is the phone number. Before we go to news, you know, for me, I am a music person, and I know we're a talk station, but today, it's different than the norm, wouldn't you say? And I want music for me is healing. Music for me is inspiring. Music for me gets you, want to get your booty dance, the whole 9 yards. And I want to play a song from my friend John Rich. He wrote this. I want to say, I think it was right in the middle. Was it in the middle of COVID, or it was in the middle of when all of the cities were burning and people were protesting and all those things? But in the middle of chaos, he wrote this song, and I found myself several times yesterday as different pieces of the news coming through subconsciously. I kept saying, earth to God, earth to God. And I remembered, oh yeah, John wrote this wonderful song. I'm going to play it here, and then we're going to go into news. Maybe this is your prayer today as we try to heal from what happened. I think what makes this so tragic is that, the 3 adults, of course, innocent lives, but 3 children that I'm sure were glorious, wonderful, happy children were killed as well. So this is John Rich.
Earth to God, come in, God. I know you're there, hearing our prayers wherever you are. We need you now to send your love down. Take away the pain in your holy name. We ask this now. We need your light, we need your love to heal the world you made. And save us now in our darkest hour with your amazing grace. Earth to God. We're holding on, but not for long. Can you pull us all close to the Holy Ghost and keep us strong? We need your light, we need your love to heal the world you made. And save us now in our darkest hour with your amazing grace. Earth to God. earth to God. Come in, God.
It is 11:31 in the morning, and I'm Jay Harper. We are looking at a bit of sunshine now and 53 degrees. A full forecast is upcoming. In light of yesterday's tragedy, calls are again being made by some to tighten the nation's gun laws. Nashville Mayor John Cooper this morning appeared on NBC's Today Show.
Gun safety and common sense regulations to kind of separate mental health challenges away from active gun ownership seem imperative. This is not, we used to do this a few years ago. What's happened is we've rolled back any common sense kind of understandings about how these assault weapons in particular are managed in America, and you end up with disasters and tragedies.
That's what's happening. A complete forecast is on the way. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Hi, I'm Paul Winkler. What's one of the biggest mistakes that I find that investors make? Well, it's typically buying based on past performance. We look at our 401k, we try to decide which fund should I buy, and tend to look at historical past performance over 3, 5, and you even hear investment advisors telling people to look at 3, 5, and 10-year track records. Problem is that what do markets do? They go up and they go down. Well, where does this have a great past performance? Here to here. So we end up buying high. We found that there was one study back in 1986, and it was called the Brinson-Hooden-Biebauer study. And they were looking at what drove investment returns more than anything else. And the study sort of looked like this. They said, stock selection, about 4% of investment differences were due to stock selection. About 2% was due to market timing differences. Asset mix, asset allocation, that was the big deal. Now, what they found, which was fascinating, was that when the pension plans engaged in these two activities, in one study it showed that 100% of the time, investment returns were lower and it increased risk. Not something you want when you're an investor. So this is something that we teach investors to help them sidestep some of these issues. Now, if you want to learn more about our approach to investing in financial planning, go to paulwinkler.com and set up a free 15-minute phone call. Or you can call 615-851-1950.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I am Pamela Furr. Glad to have you on board today. It's 11:35 Tuesday morning. Of course, Matt Murphy will be in here at noon. Then Brian Wilson with the drive at 3 o'clock this afternoon. I want to be sure to make this clear. We are honoring those that lost their lives yesterday. Haley Scruggs, 9 years old. William Kinney, 9 years old. Evelyn Dacus, I think I'm pronouncing her name properly. Is it?
Dickhouse.
Dickhouse, thank you. I apologize. 9 years old. All killed by this shooter, along with Dr. Catherine Kuntz, substitute teacher Cynthia Peak, and Chef Mike Hill were also murdered. I want to be sure that their names are remembered. I'm taking to heart what a caller said in the last half hour, that we end up making famous shooters in these things, and we forget the names of those who lost their lives, the innocent. They have names too, and you're right. So I wanted to be sure I said that today if I hadn't already. I also want to say the names of the 2 police officers that took down this shooter. Now, there were many more Metro Nashville police officers involved in what happened yesterday, involved in the strategic planning and making sure that everything worked the way it should. All their training kicked in. There were many more than these 2, but these 2, of course, are the ones that shot her and shot her, took her out, ended the shooting. Michael Collazo and Rex Engelbert, neither one hesitated to intervene in this shooting in Green Hills yesterday morning. Like I said, you had others. Body cam footage from these 2 and others have been released by the Metro Police Department, so you can see yourself. In fact, you can see the body on the ground if you want to go that far. It is graphic, but you can see how strategically they are able to go through this building, find her, take her out. Thank you. Have we said thank you yet? I don't think we have. Thank you for what you did yesterday. On behalf of all of Nashville, thank you. 737-9986 is the phone number. We've got Jim who's on the line. Jim, welcome to Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hello, Pamela.
Hi.
The real weapon here, and nobody's talking about, is the notoriety in her book that she's going to be writing, and that's how she got it out.
You know, she's dead. She's not going to be writing a book.
But that's the reason that she wrote the
manifesto.
The manifesto.
I see.
And that's the whole reason. Nobody's going to read the manifesto unless she does something to be famous or notoriety. And that is the issue. We have to stop the notoriety, and then all this will go away. It wasn't the gun that is the problem. That was the tool. But the real issue is the notoriety. And in their twisted mind, they're famous, and nobody was listening to them while they're alive. Well, by golly, I'll do something crazy. You'll remember me, and now you'll know what I stand for. And until we do that, the guns are, you see it all over this world. There's ways to kill lots of people without using a gun. The gun's not the issue. Evil people looking to get their mindset out one way or another is the problem.
Well, and thank you very much for your call, Jim. I will also say this. If you're talking about mental health issues, if you're talking about someone who isn't rational, we're trying to rationalize the irrational. And we're never going to understand how somebody can do this. Whether she wanted notoriety or if she just wanted to say a big F you to a world that she felt was unkind to her. I don't know if this was a big F you to God who she felt like maybe didn't create her the way that she should have been created. We don't know. Or she just felt like she never fit in. We don't know. If she wrote it down in the manifesto, fine. I don't know that they allow people to sell these after the fact. I would think that would be wrong, but regardless, thank you for your call, Jim. I appreciate it. I can't disagree with what you said, but how do we take the notoriety out of this? I don't know. Sharon, welcome to WTN. I appreciate your call.
Hi. I have a different spin on this. I honestly don't think we will know the truth in that manifesto. I'm 76 years old. I've had apartment neighbors I've worked next to, went to college with, gay folk. And many did not hide the fact that they changed their sex because they were molested by a parent, a relative, a neighbor. They will talk about this. Now, Audrey recently started changing her sex. She harvested an anger, an unbelievable anger that led her to murder. I strongly, in my heart, believe Audrey is a victim. I believe she was molested as a child at that school. I believe one of those adults shot was maybe her teacher that she went and spoke to, and the teacher hid it.
All right, Sharon, so I'm going to go ahead and interrupt you just for a minute, only because do you know someone from that school who's told you this? Or is this just,
I don't, but my college classes.
All right, hold on. Okay, here we go. So I have a problem with perpetuating ideas like that we don't know. So because now you're saying someone at the school may have molested her. There is no indication that that's the case. Now, if that's what friends or neighbors or even her family members are stating, I'm willing to go down that road, or even if that comes out in the manifesto. But Sharon, if you don't know them or anybody connected to them, I'm not trying to be rude, but I can't continue this conversation because I think it's a little reckless. I appreciate your phone call, though, Sharon, and I certainly respect you and your opinion. But I kind of want to stop that right there, because that then is putting a bad light on a school here that's reeling and suffering. So thank you, though, for your phone call. And thank you for your perspective. But I have to stop it there. David in Lebanon, welcome to Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I wanted to say that I listened all day yesterday to your station, and you did a fantastic job with what you had.
Thank you.
I think it's important to cut what everybody's talking about. One of the things I wanted to bring up, and just think about this for a second.
Sure.
You go into a major corporation. What do you see? You see a bunch of cameras that have monitors and a guy sitting there watching it. If these schools spent the money on a good video system that went back to a safe room, they hired 3 people every 8 hours. All they did was sit and watch those cameras. They would see anybody walking in. I know they had great cameras. What I saw was good video, but was anybody watching it at the time? You know, a lot of these people, what they do is they record this stuff, but they don't watch it.
That I can't answer, David. I don't know, but I do know. Hang on. But we do know that they did go through active shooter training in the last year. So maybe whoever might have been at the, and keep in mind, this is also a side door. So it could have been that those personnel then helped evacuate the children, and so they weren't sitting right there or standing right there.
Yeah. Well, cameras are inexpensive, 1:30 this morning, I was told there was a deer out by my RV garage.
Right.
They're really inexpensive.
Well, they had cameras.
But did I'm just saying.
I don't know.
Going forward.
Yeah, I don't know.
Going forward, when they're looking at these schools and areas, think of a corporation. You go in any major corporation,
understand.
they have security.
Yeah. Yep.
And the security is great cameras.
Yep. You're
and
right.
Somebody watching them.
You're right. Thank you.
Anyways, you guys did a great job. Everybody's covering everything.
Thank you.
I just want to bring up the idea that there's a way to do it.
All right. Thank you very much, David. I appreciate the phone call. Let's go to Bob on line 1. Hey, Bob. Welcome to WTN.
Hey, Pamela. I know there's a lot of speculation that's going on, but I wonder if there was some type of traumatic event where she targeted this school specifically, something that built up over time. And the other thing is, as part of her transgenderism, was she under hormone treatments that she could have been under a hormone imbalance that finally keyed her off?
I mean, we don't have the answers to those questions. I know that Police Chief John Drake has said that the working theory is they're going through the manifesto. She may have harbored some sort of ill feelings toward that school for having to attend that particular school. He did come out and say that. I don't remember if it was yesterday or this morning in some interviews, but he has said that. As far as hormone treatments, we don't know, but what we're learning from friends is that she only started identifying as male recently. It hasn't been something that has been, all along or in the last, 10 years, but just recently. And she's 28 years old. Does that help at all? Bob? Okay. Thank you very much for your call. Let's take one more before we take a break here. Matt is on the line. Hey, Matt, welcome to WTN.
Hey, Pamela. First, thanks for stopping some of the people that are throwing those wild theories out. That's dangerous. That's very, very dangerous. So I appreciate you shutting that down. I guess along the same lines as what the last gentleman just said was, I'm wondering how far into transitioning she was, because there were texts that were put out or direct messages that she sent to a friend that said she can't live like this, right, and she's depressed and all of this. And what we're finding in a mental health, becoming more aware, we're surrounded by people with mental health issues more and more now. What we're finding is these people who are transitioning or these people who are confused, after they begin the process or they've gone through the process, they regret doing it, or somehow they feel empty based on what they thought it was going to be and what it actually was, and it didn't fulfill. It's like everybody wants to be super rich, but when you're super rich, when you have all that money, it doesn't make you happy.
Doesn't make you happy. Yeah. And hormone replacements may not make you happy, and transitioning to another gender may not make you happy. The truth of the matter is, and I don't want to get super religious on you, we are in the Bible Belt. We know what can truly make you happy. And it's not all of these other alternatives. I'm sorry that I never got to meet this person, but maybe I could have helped. I don't know. But she was surrounded by Christian people. She was surrounded by people who loved God. She was surrounded by people that loved her and still found no happiness. And in that spiral into a very deep, dark pit, she took it out on innocence. That's evil, y'all. That's evil. All right. Thank you for your time today. When we come back, we'll speak to Matt Murphy. We'll kind of get a look at what he's got coming up on the show. Thank you for allowing me to be with you today. And I think talking this through, you and I, we can certainly heal from what happened yesterday. At least I hope so. On Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It is 11:57. Pamela Furr here, but only for what, 2 more minutes or so? We've got Matt Murphy in the house. Hello, Matt Murphy.
Hello, Pamela Furr.
You know, they teach this in broadcast school where you turn on the button.
I don't know. I figured Maury had my back, but I guess not.
Nope.
I potted it up, but I just thought you were professional
You
enough
had
to
one.
press the button.
Oh,
Well, that was your
talking
mistake.
some smack.
Have we met? My name is Matt Murphy.
Ouch. And I've
He
been
knows it's all
around
love.
Mac. No, I'm sorry. Excuse me. I've been around Matt when the smack talking begins. By the way,
We were just referencing that.
But
There was a lot of
my favorite watering hole has closed, and Matt feels very vindicated. That's all I'm gonna say.
Pamela loves to tell this story. She's lying on me telling this story.
I don't love
that
it.
I was being
He's
too
the one that-
loud. and
he
got kicked
he
out of a
asked
place.
me, never speak of this again. And I have said, no problem. And then what does he do? An hour
Always
later, he
brings
brings
to
it up.
speak of it, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, what am I supposed to do? I have to react. He absolutely destroyed that bar.
I did not destroy. I was yelling and screaming.
Threw things.
I threw a chair. Maybe. I don't really.
He doesn't remember.
Why don't we get those bar owners on here now to talk?
Wait a minute. They sold it.
What, they
It's
sold the-
gone. Yeah, they sold the building. Sold the property. I mean, for millions. Don't blame them.
I was reading an article last night, and I don't know Lee Beeman, obviously, but I was reading an article about some of the property
Beeman
that he sold and what that will be.
$700-something million.
Gajillion dollars.
Ooh. Yes. No, we love Lee Beeman. Quite the conservative around here. So
I love you, Lee
definitely-
Beeman.
He is definitely a friend.
More than that brew house.
I
didn't name it. Could be
yes,
any
you
old brew
did.
house on Broadway.
That sold and is no longer in business.
Great job today.
All right,
Great
thank
job
you.
yesterday.
Thank you.
Yeah,
All right,
absolutely.
and what do you have coming up? We only have a few seconds. No, in fact, we only have 8 seconds. You'll have to find out at 12:05 with the Matt Murphy Show on Super Talk 99.7
Stick around.
WTN.